So let's talk about the monster gentleman today. The concept called monster gentleman, right? Um, what the other day somebody told me that you're such a gentleman, but you can be a real monster when it comes to dominating or getting what you want. So they asked me, how do you handle that, right? And I just had a very simple answer: be, don't be anything. Okay, do not have an identity towards it. Remove and erase all your identity first, and secondly, be aware as to what a situation needs at what point of time. Okay, most people are living in this concept of identity, like there are good people who were hurt by the world and then they become monsters later on. Yeah, and then there are monsters who have this heartbreaking moment of, oh, what a lovely day I had, what someone treated me so well, so now I've become a gentleman. And all constantly oscillating between these identities. This is all rubbish. Okay? In your biology, you have both. You have the ability to be a monster. Okay, you have the ability to be a gentleman, and I'm talking about both men and women here. Yeah, all you have to do is be aware enough to tap into that ability, and do not be obsessed with ideas. Yes, you have certain. You are generally inclined to certain traits, right? When you're born, for example, I was more of a monster. I was the kind of guy who was, I consider myself a criminal, right? I would take the shortcuts. I would go and fight if needed. I would not try and solve the situation. That was my natural ability. And then I later learned how to be a more of a gentleman, right? So, of course, you have certain traits. Of course, you have certain ways of handling it. But first thing, you have to erase all this identity. And yes, certain things will come to you naturally. But you also have to understand that this is the amount I need to do. And that is what the balance is. So all of you, at some level, need to be the monster gentleman. Okay? Stop this whole thing with the identity. This is how I function. This is how I handle life. This is how I run my business. This is what I do. No, you are just a victim of biology. What you have to do is move from being a victim of biology to being a completely aware being, okay, and using every little aspect of life in the right amount for the right situation, because life is just acting, right? There's nothing else going on. You are entirely in your brain and you are using this machine to just move around, make actions, talk, and move atoms around. That's all that's happening, right? And how is it happening? Because you are an actor. But most of you take your role too seriously. So learn to be the monster gentleman. Where it is required, be the monster. Where it is required, be the gentleman. Where it is required, be nothing. And inside, always be nothing. And by nothing, I mean be aware. Because deep down, you are nothing. That's all you have to be aware of.